Hey there, film lovers, and welcome back to Quote the Film Podcast. I'm your host Matt, and this is episode 3. If you've been following along, thank you so much for sticking with us. If this is your first time tuning in, well, you've picked a fascinating episode to jump into. Today we're diving deep into something that I think every movie lover can relate to, but maybe hasn't fully thought about. We're talking about why some films stay with us forever, even when we can't remember a single plot point. So here's something weird that happened to me last week. I was talking to a friend about Blade Runner, the Ridley Scott classic. And I was trying to explain why it's one of my all-time favorites. But when I started describing the plot, I realized I could barely remember the specifics. Like, I knew Harrison Ford was a detective hunting replicants, but the actual sequence of events? The details of how everything unfolds? Pretty fuzzy. Yet I could instantly recall exactly how that movie made me feel. That sense of melancholy, the questions about what makes us human, that haunting Vangelis soundtrack washing over those neon-soaked streets. And this got me thinking about something I call the emotional permanence of cinema. It's this phenomenon where movies leave these deep emotional imprints that outlast our memory of their actual stories. Think about it. When someone mentions a film you love, what comes to mind first? Is it the plot beats and character arcs? Or is it a feeling, a mood, maybe a specific image that just hits you right in the chest? Let me give you another example. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Now, I've probably seen this movie 15 times since I was a kid, but if you asked me to give you a scene-by-scene breakdown, I'd struggle. But mention E.T. to me, and immediately I'm flooded with this overwhelming sense of wonder and heartbreak. I can feel that ache of childhood longing, that bittersweet realization that growing up means losing some of that magical thinking. The movie planted this emotional seed that's been growing in me for decades. So why does this happen? Well, there's some fascinating psychology at work here. Our brains are essentially emotional filing systems. We don't just store information, we store it with emotional tags. When something moves us deeply, those emotional pathways get reinforced every time we think about it. Meanwhile, plot details, they're just information. And information, frankly, is forgettable. But emotions? Emotions are survival tools. They helped our ancestors remember what was dangerous, what was safe, what was important. And it's not just childhood classics that do this. Horror films are particularly fascinating in how they achieve emotional permanence. Take something like The Babadook. Most people who've seen it couldn't tell you the exact sequence of events that leads to the climax. But they'll never forget that feeling of dread, that suffocating sense of maternal exhaustion turned monstrous. Jennifer Kent didn't just make a scary movie, she made a movie about the terror of losing yourself to grief and responsibility. That's why it lingers. When a film triggers a powerful emotional response, it's essentially hijacking these ancient systems. It's saying to our brain, hey, this is important. File this away permanently. And that's why you can watch a movie once and carry its emotional weight for the rest of your life, while forgetting most of what actually happened in it. But here's what's really interesting, not all films achieve this emotional permanence. Some movies we watch, enjoy, and then they just fade. They don't leave that lasting imprint. So what separates the films that stay with us from the ones that don't? I think it comes down to 3 key elements: authenticity, universality, and what I like to call emotional specificity. But there's another layer to this that I find absolutely fascinating. It's what I call emotional archaeology. Sometimes a film will hit you in a way that doesn't make immediate sense, and only later do you realize it was excavating some buried emotion, some forgotten experience from your own life. I remember watching Call Me By Your Name, and being completely unprepared for how it would affect me. On the surface, it's a very specific story about first love in 1980s Italy. But somehow, Luca Guadagnino had managed to capture something universal about the terror and ecstasy of opening yourself up to someone completely. Days later, I found myself remembering not just the film, but my own first experiences with that kind of vulnerable love. The movie had become a key that unlocked my own emotional memory. Let's start with authenticity. The films that stick with us feel real, even when they're completely fantastical. Take something like Her, Spike Jonze's movie about a man falling in love with an operating system. On paper, it sounds ridiculous. But the emotional core, that loneliness, that desire for connection, that fear of vulnerability, it's so authentic that it transcends the sci-fi premise. The movie understands something true about human nature, and that truth resonates long after the credits roll. Then there's universality. The most memorable films tap into experiences that, while specific to the characters, feel universal to us as humans. Pixar is masterful at this. Up starts with this devastating montage of a marriage, from young love to old age to loss. It's about Carl and Ellie, but it's also about every relationship, every dream deferred, every goodbye we've ever had to say. That's why grown adults sob in a movie theater watching a cartoon about balloons. And finally, emotional specificity. This might sound contradictory to universality, but hear me out. The films that endure don't just make us feel sad or happy or scared. They make us feel very specific, often complex emotions that we might not even have words for. Think about the ending of Lost in Translation. What is that feeling? It's not quite sadness, not quite joy. It's this bittersweet recognition of connection and missed opportunity all at once. Sofia Coppola created something emotionally specific, and because it was so precise, it became unforgettable. You know what's beautiful about this? It means that cinema, at its best, isn't really about storytelling. Don't get me wrong, good stories matter. But the films that truly last, they're about feeling. They're about creating these emotional experiences that become part of who we are. They change us, even in small ways, and we carry that change forward. Let me give you a few more examples of this emotional specificity, because I think it's really the secret sauce of memorable cinema. Moonlight creates this incredibly specific feeling around the experience of discovering your identity in a world that doesn't seem to have space for who you really are. It's not just about being gay, or being black, or growing up poor, though it's certainly about all of those things. It's about that particular ache of feeling like you're speaking a language no one else understands, even when you're surrounded by people. Barry Jenkins found a way to make that internal experience visible, tangible, and that's why the film stays with you. This is why I think we need to stop judging films purely on plot mechanics or technical achievements, though those things certainly matter. The real test of a great film isn't whether you can remember what happened. It's whether you can remember how it made you feel. It's whether, years later, just hearing the title or seeing a single frame can transport you back to that emotional state. Or consider Spirited Away. There's something about that film that captures the specific feeling of being a child thrust into an adult world you don't understand, where the rules keep changing and everyone expects you to just figure it out. Miyazaki created this dreamlike narrative that mirrors exactly what it feels like to be 10 years old and overwhelmed by a world that suddenly seems too big and too complicated. That's incredibly specific, and yet somehow universal to anyone who's ever been a confused kid. So the next time you're watching a movie, pay attention to more than just what's happening on screen. Notice what's happening inside you. Notice which moments make your chest tighten or your eyes well up or your heart race. Those are the moments that will stay with you long after the plot details have faded. Those are the moments that make cinema not just entertainment, but art. Here's something else that's remarkable about films with true emotional permanence. They grow with you. The movie that devastated you at 20 might comfort you at 40, or reveal entirely new layers of meaning. I watched The Graduate for the first time in college and identified completely with Benjamin, this aimless young man drowning in the expectations of adulthood. But when I rewatched it a decade later, I found myself understanding Mrs. Robinson in ways that had never occurred to me before. The film hadn't changed, but I had, and suddenly I could see the loneliness and desperation that drives her character. That's the mark of a truly great film. It doesn't just capture one emotional truth, it contains multitudes. And that's what we're really celebrating here on Quote the Film Podcast. Not just the movies themselves, but the emotional experiences they create, the feelings they preserve, and the ways they quietly shape us into the people we become. And maybe that's where I'll leave you today. Until next time, keep watching, keep feeling, and keep quoting the film.